card léir agus fáilte ar ais go an mhór pancréile. Táimid bheo go inad tharbór inniu le mo carha Brendan ó Cuileáin as ógra ina chléil. Buin soltas a card léir. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mhór podcast. We're live today from Harbour headquarters with my good friend Brendan Collins from Young Fine Gael. Brendan's a good friend of mine from a young age, so it's going to be a very interesting episode and I'm really looking forward to it. Enjoy, friends. Right, Brendan Collins, thank you so much for coming on.
Not a bother, yeah.
This is about a year in the making.
Yeah.
We've been kind of humming and hanging for about a year, but I suppose you've been in Dublin and we've both been somewhat busy, so we never got a chance to do it properly up until now.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute pleasure to have you here in Inod Harbour, the Harbour headquarters. Look, we'll get straight into it anyway. So you're studying law, politics and economics, I believe, in DCU.
Yeah.
How are you kind of finding that?
It's tricky, but it's a really great contrast between the three kind of subjects, you could say. But I argue that they're all tied in together. So I'm kind of contradicting myself, but between the law, economics and the politics, you're doing something different every lecture. Whether it's, you've got constitutional law in the morning and then introduction to politics then in the evening, and you've got different tutorials on between them, history of Irish politics, different things like that. And then with the economics then that's a whole different kettle of fish. You've got maths for economics, macro, micro, then you've got all your tutorials for that. And then we also have things like data analysis for economics. So it gives you kind of a real rounded view on that whole area of the, I'm going to say, humanities, if I might, with the economics and business, I guess. But especially with the law and politics, they tie in together really well. And then the economics is a real bonus to that because, for example, even myself being interested in politics, that any decision that was made, can be made in politics, first has to have a reference of law and a reference of economics. So like a bill won't be brought forward if the economic need isn't there, and it can't be brought forward until the legislator performs the bill, and then that ties the three subjects all together. So like you can see how they all come together, and that's really what I like about the course. I'm looking forward to the second year because we're doing American politics. It's going to be interesting, and yeah, it's all in all the course is great. Love it. I couldn't complain at all about it. I'm very lucky to be in the course as well. I'm I don't take it for granted that I'm in college because a lot of people can't go to college, and yeah.
No, I'm glad to hear that, and it does seem to be one tailor-made for you. Like you're dead right. It's three subjects that very much intertwine. So no, that's fantastic. And would you sort of recommend it to others filling out their CAO in the 6 years?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely recommend it to people. Like I would recommend it to anyone who has an interest in the humanities or an interest in government or anything that's to do with public affairs. But there's also different things like in DCU that we do, like for example international relations or just pure law as a VCL. But one that ties the three together, I really think that EPL, Economics, Politics, Law, is a really good course. Now, like I've seen people who came into it not having an interest in one of the subjects. For example, someone might be interested in the politics and they like the law and the economics, and there's always the option to bring your politics down to a minor and keep your law and economics as your major going through, and that is a value as well. Honestly, couldn't recommend the course anymore. The lectures are great. I don't know if you know Des O'Malley.
Yes, yeah.
Des O'Malley's son Owen is my lecturer for comparative politics. He's really good. Gary Murphy, who's on the TV a good bit during election time, he does my one of my politics modules. Like there's a load of really good guys that are involved, and I had a really good lady for economics. Like there's really good, the faculty there are really good in that course, and it's kind of one of the special courses in DCU where it gets a bit more attention because it isn't filtered through, like in the business school, economics is just filtered through with accounting and finance or business and different things like that. Whereas it's given more attention because it's in with law and politics. So yeah, that's what I would definitely recommend it. 100%.
Brilliant, brilliant. Could you tell us a little bit about your time, kind of experience in DC and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my experience, I started on the 8th of September last year, and up until Christmas I didn't come home back to Cork, just stayed in Dublin, and I was working in Dublin as well at the same time, and I was just on campus. I had on-campus accommodation and I was studying away, played football and hurling until Christmas, and then I stopped playing football at Christmas and just continued playing hurling, and I was playing Fresher B in both the two codes, and then I stopped playing football and just played the hurling, and then I was part of the debate sock, and we went on a trip to Berlin, which was really enjoyable, and then all in all it was really good. Made some really good friends, had great memories from the first year, and all in all the experience was great.
Fair play, that's fantastic, that's fantastic. No, I'm glad to hear that. I suppose going back to the lectures, in the spirit of talking about lectures, I better give a few shout outs to mine. There's actually one, she taught me international politics this year, Clodagh Harrington. She actually has her own podcast. She was brilliant now, I thought, a really great grasp of, international affairs, especially with the year we've had. There's been American elections, there's been an election in Germany, so that was very insightful. I don't know, would you be familiar with Theresa Reading? No, she's actually on the telly quite a bit. Again, very helpful, very approachable. I found her to be very good, to be honest. She taught Irish affairs. Look, I won't go on about it all day, but I just felt I should give you a shout out to a few of my politics lectures as well. I suppose there's a few good ones in economics as well, the likes of Robbie Butler, he's a great sporting background as well, and John Considine is similar, he's a fantastic, he's actually a former Cork hurler even, which is interesting. So no, that's fantastic, it sounds like you're having a great time. We'll reel it back a little bit. So you studied at second level in Glenstall Abbey.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, could you tell us a bit about your experience there?
Yeah, so I started in Glenstall in September 2018, and I started there when I went in at 13, and I finished in 2024 at 18 years old, and I went there for 6 years, I boarded there from first year to sixth year. So full board in Glenstall is you go down and you stay there for 3 weeks, and then on the last week you go home on the Friday after school for the weekend, and then you come back on the Monday night. Right. So you have the Friday evening, the Saturday evening, the Sunday evening, and then you go back the Monday evening. So you're staying down there for a month on a month each time. And obviously, you'd come home when you need to, or if you wanted to come home, you could have gone home every weekend. But I chose to stay there as much as I could, and I made great friends there at the weekends, because when you don't have school, so we had school on Saturdays, so we'd start at 9 and then we'd finish in the midday, and then we're off then for the rest of the evening on the Saturday, and then we'd mass every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So that kept us busy throughout the weekend. And there's some structure there for us when we were not at anything during the weekend. And then throughout the week then, my schedule would have been playing rugby Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the Tuesday and Thursday and whatever else. And it was really scheduled, really packed. You had a time and a place to be somewhere at that time. You had to be at that place. So this is your off time, this is your on time, you're here to study, you're out of study, these are your classes. That's how it worked. Really routine, scheduled. The people down there were really good. I made a brilliant group of friends down there, and I couldn't remark the place about I couldn't kick it down, you know what I mean? I couldn't speak negatively about the place at all. I suppose when you're there, it's easy to speak negatively about it, but I'd give any amount of money just to go back for another year again, because when you're finished, you only realise how enjoyable the whole experience was, and how, I suppose they say, when you're in the moment, you don't realise you're in the moment, and only when you look back, hindsight is a great thing. Like, so it was great, and really enjoyed it. I started debating when I was in transition year in Glenstal, and I continued all the way until 6th year, competed in a few competitions in like inter-secondary school competitions in UCC, and then I did my leaving cert and then went to DCU, and that was it. That was kind of the whole experience. It was great, and really boosted my confidence as coming from a young age up, and I think that's positive.
Absolutely, that's great to hear. I can actually relate to that as well. You know, kind of when you look back, hindsight is a great thing, and like, you know, I would definitely, there's loads of times I actually would miss secondary school.
Yeah.
So, now look, I'm enjoying this part of my life as well, but you would absolutely, you'd miss, you know, being with your buddies and not seeing people for a long time. And you know, in fairness, I remember now, I suppose, Jesus, it's about 2 years. 2 years, I want to say, since you're 18 there, and loads of good lads there from Glenstal, that great crack. So yeah, great stuff. So what would you kind of say, staying on the second level subject, what would you kind of say to someone facing a leaving cert?
Facing from 5th year, I'm going to do facing from 5th year and then facing like 2 months out.
Yeah.
I'm going to split those 2 sections, right? So facing from 5th year, well, in transition year, you're going to have some idea of what you're good at from junior level, because you'll have tried everything, all the subjects in junior cert level, right? So you're going to, assuming that you've done as many subjects as you can in junior cert, or you've had some that you don't like, some that you like. So you're going to have had your subjects picked either at the end of 3rd year to go into 5th year, if you're not doing TY, or you're going to have them picked in TY going into 5th year. Right? So once you have your subjects picked, that's it. You can't change that. That's what you're down for. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, if something's really bad and you've made a really horrible mistake, you can change. But if you have your mind set on that, then the only thing that I've seen, like especially in Glenstal, like there's a difference in, I'd say there's 3 different categories of people, academically wise, that were in school with me. So there was people, I'll start with so I'll put them into 3 categories, A, B, and C. So in A, you've got people who are really academically smart, like can motor through work and really get down to things quite quickly and take in information and then spew that out quite quickly as well. So the group of people in A, I've seen from once they came into 5th year, their head was already locked in for the leaving cert. Now I know locked in is kind of like a vernacular term now, that people say, oh, I'm going to be locked in, but like as in locked in as in focused, completely focused on the end goal of finishing at the 25th of June. And from September 5th year to the 25th of June 6th year, that, what is it, 26 months of just being pure focused. Those people did quite well results wise, but how much they enjoyed their last 2 years in school then is a different thing. So for them to sacrifice the enjoyment in relation to results, that was their own idea, like that they chose to do that, and they got really good marks, and they're doing what they're doing now, and that they're enjoying life and they're finished the leaving cert. Then group B, in the middle ground, these are somewhat people who are quite like good academically, but also like to enjoy life more so, and don't want to sacrifice being distracted for putting their time into studying. So these people can achieve quite like okay academic success, but then will also be able to like have good experiences in life between that time in 5th year and the time of leaving cert. I'd say 2 months before leaving cert, because I've seen seemingly everybody seems to just go down and everybody's then at that group A focus level 2 months before the leaving cert, but they're not on that level for the whole time. And then you've got group C. Now people seem to put people that aren't extremely on the academic side to then put them over toward they like to enjoy life more and are kind of not lazy but easily distracted. But I'd argue that there's a certain proportion of people who are not as academically inclined, but more practically inclined, and they excel in more subjects like woodwork and metalwork and doing things that are hands-on, and they can manage with their hands, seeing it like this, and not retaining information like in subjects like history and English. But these groups of people are then knocked down by the fact that they also have to do subjects like, for example, maybe languages that they're not able to grasp as easy as someone in Group A who's quite academically fluent. You know what I mean? So then you've got this Group C who do quite well with their few subjects that are tailored towards their interests and needs, and not needs, but like things that they can come to them quickly. You know what I mean? They can understand and they can learn quite quickly, and they also enjoy life as well. So that I see, like, seemingly that B and C do well, and then A do very well, and then there's another group of people who have no interest in studying at all. But that's a different kettle of fish altogether. But the majority of people are in groups A, B, and C, and that's how I'd say in fifth year that's how they approach things. And then 2 months before leaving cert, everybody seemingly like focuses in and is just studying for those 2 months, and that's when pressure starts kicking in. People start getting really stressed about things, and they don't know what they want to do and all this crack. And I would say to people facing 2 months beforehand that you just need to sit back and you need to just cut out all the noise and just keep tipping away at what you're doing. Like, you can't make any serious changes in 2 months before leaving cert. You might be able to increase your score by 50 points at max, 70 points at max, but you're not making the jump from 100 points in the mocks 2 months beforehand, or 120 points. So you need to think about that as well, and actually check back where you are, because you can't expect unreasonable return for a really small investment of 2 months' time of study. So that don't be unreasonable with yourself, and don't expect things higher than what you have already achieved, because if you do that, then when you don't get it, you're going to be really distraught. And if you do get it, then it's a great surprise. Just work as hard as you can, and then whatever comes. That's my advice for leaving cert students.
Do you know what? I'm actually quite blown away. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose I'd like to think, and maybe I'm being a bit kind to myself here, I'd be in that B to C kind of category.
Yeah.
You know, I never.
That's varied as well, so it's not strict. It's like there's a line between those A, B, and C. So it's not strict that one group is separate to the other. That transfers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I was never. I suppose, for want of a better term, I killed myself. Like, I never went mental studying, but I suppose for those last 2 months, definitely locked in, as you said.
Yeah.
I think that's I hope if there's any maybe kind of, I suppose, fifth years going into 6 years now listening, I hope they can get a bit of value out of that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really solid advice in fairness. Look, we've had a great discussion there about your kind of background, and hopefully people know you a bit better now.
Yeah.
We better get into the bloody politics.
Yeah, no matter, yeah. No problem.
Yeah, so you're a member of Fine Gael.
Yeah.
What kind of drew you to the party?
Well, there's a few different things. So with Fine Gael, I suppose the cliche would say that my dad is a Fine Gael supporter, but we would have a different view on a lot of different things.
Right.
But even just looking at, like, I looked at like different. I basically put myself into the shoes of if I was in, for example, Labour, for example, and I couldn't see myself promoting the values of Labour, or I couldn't see myself promoting the values of Sinn Féin, or I couldn't see myself, with the Social Democrats, it's a bit here or there, but I still couldn't be fully fledged for the Social Democrats, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But with Fine Gael, I could feel very comfortable, and I don't know what it was, but actually reading down through all Fine Gael's policy suggestions, because when people say, like, you're reading Fine Gael's policies, Fine Gael's policies aren't policies until they actually come into play.
True.
So they aren't belonging to Fine Gael. They will belong to us if they get put forward into government and signed into legislation, those policies. But what Fine Gael wants to do are in those policies. And if you read them down and you can see the message to that, and I just became attracted to that, and I said, listen, that's where I'm going, that's what I like. And I review it all the time. Right. I'm not just one of these people who's, I'm a sheep. And there's
Respect
the shepherd with the bell, and I'm just gonna follow on and agree with everything he says. Like I mean,
that's great.
like there is a lot of things that you have to be wary about. Like there's a lot of people who are just attaching themselves to a party and say, that's me, that's some. But I do review it, and I constantly if I was to have a problem with something, I'd ask them, and I'd be like, here, listen, that's what it is. That is wrong. You can't.
That's
or I don't agree with that. Like you can be a member of a party and disagree with something that they promote as well, because it's not like one broad blanket that goes over. Like there is debate to be had, and there is how to say it, not negotiation, but there's a bit of leeway on, listen, this majority of people are voting for this, and you're just gonna have to take it on the chin and listen, that's what's going through. And that's what's great about a big party as well. And also the energy behind Fine Gael, like especially in this area. Like I know Fianna Fáil have quite a grip around here as well, which is great and good for them. Like I mean, it's great to see parties having a great support. Like regardless of if it's not Fine Gael, if it's Fianna Fáil, if they have great support, that's good for them. That means they're doing something well, and they're connecting with people, and they're representing people and what people want. And like that is the main thing about politics. If you take away like Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, like Fianna Fáil are representing a lot of people around here, which is great. You know what I mean? That's good for them. Fine Gael, there's a great kind of community around North Cork, Munster, East Cork, and it just seems to go, and I like it, and it works for me, and seemingly I'm comfortable in that position, and I don't feel like I have to change my outlook on things to just please people within Fine Gael, and that's why if you want to ask me anything else about it, I can. But if that's a good overview,
I think that's a brilliant overview. I suppose one thing I took from it there is you mentioned you like how you can be able to disagree with people in the party. It's not a problem. I suppose, look, I don't want to be making false allegations here, but I've plenty of friends in Sinn Féin. I think great people in Sinn Féin. But I suppose one problem I would have with Sinn Féin, and why I'd have difficulty joining them, is because it seems like if you disagree with party policy, whether it be those boys in Belfast or whether it be Mayor Lou MacDonald, you're going to be kind of slaughtered for it. There seems to be a bit of a witch hunt there, but I'm particularly talking about Dave Cullinan recently. I think that kind of stuff, and I don't want to just be using this as an opportunity to bash Sinn Féin. I think they
I also just want to say as well, Dave Cullinan is a good guy. I'm not gonna, how to say, we can talk about him if you want, but I'll just say he isn't a bad person. So I know the way you're saying witch hunt, there's some people will say oh, Dave Cullinan, whatever. So we just need to say Dave Cullinan isn't essentially a bad person.
I don't think so either.
So just need to I just want to say that, because very often something will come up in the media or a podcast like this, and someone's name will be said, and then some people can say oh, it's only promoting more talk about someone when they actually might not want to be talked about at all.
Very true.
Because at the end of the day, Dave Cullinan isn't here with us.
True.
And we can't see his response to what we're saying. So
thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now I suppose I'm trying my best to kind of defend this game, but then again, he doesn't want that, so we'll gloss over that. But totally. Look, that's a good point. That's a very good point. But I suppose so without naming names, I suppose it just feels like in that party, any level of dissent, and I could be wrong. If anyone wants to comment in the comment section, of course, get in touch with me. That's fine. But I just feel like that's something that would make me have difficulty towards, I suppose, leaning towards that particular party. But look, that's a very minor thing. No, I think that's a very fair observation as to why you joined Fine Gael and why you think that their values kind of align with yours. As a chairman of the YFG branch in DCU, what kind of work are you getting up to there?
So it's actually really weird. So in DCU we have Fine Gael support, but active members is another story. Right. So there are people who support Fine Gael and will be because for example, anyone can join the society, right? So it's the Young Fine Gael Society, but it's also a YFG branch of Fine Gael. So it's two entities in one.
Right.
So it's weird. It's really weird how it works. But anyways, so I was nominated to co-chair in September, and on paper chair, in terms of boring clubs and socks and whatever like that. And then the other co-chair, Laura, dropped out of college. She left college, so she was removed then from that society. So then I became the full chair of DCU from Christmas onwards.
Right.
And then I was re-elected as the chair in the later part of the second semester. And then I continued to hold that position until the new year again. And there'll be another meeting and then we'll see again. Because personally, I don't like holding the position of chair. I'd much rather it be changed constantly. Because if you leave someone in a position for long enough, they'll think it's theirs. And really, it shouldn't be like that. It should be changing all the time. And I'd actually like to move into maybe the role of treasurer or something like that, and to just manage finances for the. I'm doing that at the moment, anyways. But I'd like someone else to go into the limelight of the chair of DCU, just so they can go to events and experience different things. Because you do get those special things of being able to, for example, go to events and as chair and represent DCU as different things. And I feel like that should be shared with other people. But in DCU, the challenge is where we're situated in Dublin North West is Fine Gael's probably our worst constituency for representation and votes in the last general election. So, and also there's a strong Sinn Féin support on campus as well, which is fine, no problem at all. A good friend of mine, Dahi Fitzgerald from Trinity.
I know him.
You know Dahi?
Good guy.
Yeah, good friend of mine. Dahi, he'd be very involved in that. He was doing masters in DCU last year, and then there's Fianna Fáil on campus as well, Ogre Fianna Fáil, and there's I think is it Youth Labour or Labour Youth or
I think that's Nick Ives.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The Youth Party of Labour, there's one person I know for definite. There's one person. And there's a selection around, but politics isn't big in DCU. What I'm not saying is, like, what I'm saying is Sinn Féin can be big and Ogre can have more, or may have more numbers than us, or Labour has more numbers than us, but in comparison to UCD, it's a third of the amount of people that are interested in politics, because UCD is 4 times bigger than DCU,
I suppose,
in students. So like, it's hard to have the same energy as a college that's bigger than you, and to push things that are going on with YFG in DCU, but things are fine. We're managing very slowly. Like, we're our own entity. We have meet up with each other and different things like that. We go to things, and that's it. Yeah, that's kind of what we do. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. We're involved in mock dolls and different things like that. And, we get involved. Like, that's it. But nothing too extraordinary. Is that's what it is. Yeah.
That's great stuff. Well, yeah. I've actually been on UCD campus before. I was doing a bit of soccer media work there, and Jesus, it's very impressed by it now. But I have to visit one up in DC.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I was aware, I suppose, that it wouldn't be as big as your Trinities or your UCDs.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's literally right behind it. Like.
Well, we're bigger with more students than Trinity.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. So,
and I'd argue that we're the best. Well, we're not the best GA college, but we're in both the Fitzgibbon and the Sigerson final this year.
Wow.
Yeah, and we won the Sigerson.
Jeez, yeah. Well, I mean, and current form, you're definitely up there, right?
Yeah. Well, we compete. We have a name for ourselves, and we compete. Like, we're good. We're a good GA college, and we're kind of very proud of that. And we have in DCU. We've 2 different campuses. Well, we actually have 3 different campuses. The 2 main campuses are the Glasgow campus, where I'm based, and then St. Pat's, which is where a lot of people do teaching. So St. Patrick's College was where a lot of people would have done teaching before DCU brought St. Pat's in under its wing. Right. And it's now branded all as DCU. And then there's the All Hallow campus, which was previously the Mater Dei Institution, where there was a lot of priests training and different things like that. But all in all, we are spread all around North Dublin, and we have obviously our pitches and things like that. But we've a great spread all around that area. Glasnevin, Drumcondra, we're all around that area. That's
fantastic. It sounds like you're a top college, and I suppose health and sport would be personally a big motivator for me in politics. So
sorry, health and sport is motivates you to
be interested, I suppose.
To be interested.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. So I think that's really good to hear that there's a college, in North Dublin that has such a focus on sport. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're, a part of that. But so anyway, we've kind of established now you're a young man with a big interest in politics. So could you kind of explain to the viewers some of your thoughts and ideas, if you don't mind?
Well, yeah. So I have I suppose my strongest feelings about things in politics would be rural development and industry and business. Like I really am interested in business and development and things like that. And one of the things would be also like by rural development, I mean industry, housing, and education, and well, all the things that stem from education, like sport and like all the extras of which tie onto education. Like that's what I separate that as. But with industry, like for example, in Ireland, I would argue that a lot of industry is centered around cities, and that's great. Like it's really good, and you can see, like especially around Cork now, for example, you've got great industry that is spread around rural Ireland that doesn't actually taint the view of the countryside or anything like that. So, for example, if you look at just outside the door, McDonald Bros are down there,
Yeah.
right? So they've one depot in Glanworth, they've one in Castleton Road. I believe they have another one somewhere else.
They do. I'm not too sure where.
Yeah, I know they do.
Yeah,
I know they
yeah.
do. And then you've got, like, for example, Howard Farms over in Killavullen.
Yeah.
They have a depot there. Their farm spreads all around. Then you've got, for example, Dairygold Co-op. Now I know this is all industry, right? But it all spreads around rural Ireland, and it is fairly well incorporated. But it's got nothing to do with cities or anything like that, or keeping industry within built-up areas. And I feel like that I suppose this could just be, you could basically just put it down to an issue of planning, because people can't get planning to build industry in the countryside. But if you build, I think that it all ties in together, but if industry is allowed the chance to create itself within rural Ireland, you'll then in turn see development of housing, because people need to go to work, people need to live around where they work. So developments of domestic developments should develop near where there is industry in rural Ireland, right? Yeah. So if you have lots of people and they have a job in Dairygold, they're going to live around Dairygold because it'll be closer to work and things like that, to put it simply, right? But like, I think that in Ireland, we are a very rural based people. Like as a people, as what we are, we come from being sparsely located around the country. Like we've often, like we've towns, built up areas and things like that, and but a lot of us have come from living in the countryside, living out away from different people. And I think that the now push for the development within cities to create more housing, create more well, I don't want to say high story skyscrapers, because like those are imminent. They will come anyways. Like if you look at cities all around the world, they all have them. So like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like we're facing a transition of people going from the countryside and wanting to live in the city, which is perfectly okay, and they can do that. And then we have people who want to live in the countryside but can't, because it's being regulated quite highly about building in the countryside and development in the countryside. So I think that as a people we need to allow, or as a government, well I'm not in government, but as the government should allow the preference for people to be able to build in the countryside and also to build or to live in the city. And that's something I feel very strongly about. Like I think we all deserve the right to be able to live where we want. Now, whether it may be more difficult to live in the countryside because there's less amenities, public transport and whatnot, but I still believe that we should be allowed the choice, and that is something I'd be a big advocate for. With industry, I always kind of want to promote the domestic market in Ireland. Like I think it is really important that we are producing a lot, we're exporting a lot, bringing money into Ireland and developing as a nation. And I think that's really important. And I think we've done very well in the last like 20 years from when we faced the crash in 2008, 2009 to, I would argue, recovery of 2018, 2017, 2016 to 2019, back on par. I'm not going to say back on par to earnings and to where the country was in development wise in 2004 or 2003, but from where we dropped down to where we recovered to, I think it's really good. So like I think that just the basis of returning on backing industry and backing indigenous domestic companies in Ireland is really important. And for example, dropping the VAT rate down to 9% for hospitality, or on fuel. Like I rely on fuel to come here. Like I have to put petrol into my car to drive down here to do this. Can't rely on public transport. So that's another thing. Like backing industry in turn has a knock-on effect on everyone else. Now I know you could argue that you could say like the people who own that industry will only get more wealthy. Well then I think that is also like a problem. Like if people are only focused on like people who own industry making loads of money. But I just think it's good. Like for example, another example is Intel in Kildare. Like they built a huge business there, and loads of people live there now because they all work there. And I think industry and development is kind of one thing that I'm really passionate about, and that's kind of a big deal to me. And yeah, I think that is kind of my main focus. There's also like small little issues, that I would have an issue with, like VRT for example on cars. Like it is kind of against the nature of the European Union that if you want to buy a car from Germany, you have to pay 20% of the value of it on top of it to register it on Irish roads. Like I mean, it does break down freedom of trade within the EU, and I think I know the government make a lot of money from VRT, and I just think it isn't fair. Like we should be able to trade all around the EU, because I mean, if we pay money into the EU and we are part of that union, and we should be able to take advantage of it as much as possible. And by having no tariffs on trade, I think that having that tariff of the tax of, if you want to bring in a motor vehicle, you have to pay 20% of the value on top of it. I think it's a bit rough. Like I think it discourages people from wanting to trade motor vehicles within the EU, because they're going to have to pay a fifth of the price of the car on top of that again. And it isn't part of the nature of the EU. So like these are small issues that I have problems with. And I think that with politics is good, and like on a European level with the YEPP and different things like that, like you can make a case for it, but you can't really push forward. So that's why I'm interested in politics. So yeah, so I suppose I kind of rambled on there a bit, but it kind of gives a better. I'm trying to let you into my head, the viewers, and yourself obviously. But if you can kind of, maybe I'm speaking too quickly, but hopefully you can see what I mean. So, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's brilliant. So a lot of very good important points there. You kind of mentioned indigenous Irish companies, so your hospitality industry, etc., etc. I actually totally agree with that point. I think it's really important that we back our indigenous businesses and stuff like that. I suppose I want to commend Fine Gael first for getting us out of the recession. I think Fine Gael did a really good job.
I think across the board, like a lot of people agree with that opinion. I think but I do think that some people in Fine Gael like to push it home, as if you know what I mean. But but yeah, go on.
No worries. So I want to commend Fine Gael from an economic perspective. Now, this is more of a question than a statement, But I would say if you could make a critique of Fine Gael's good work economically of getting us out of that recession, it could potentially be that are we too reliant on FDI, and as a result, has that hurt indigenous Irish businesses? Because we're seeing, I'll literally 2 seconds, we're seeing, I think something like 300, 400 pubs close over the last few years. Or that could be, I might need to fact check that, I might put a little thing fact checking that. And restaurants are kind of struggling. So do you think that, is it possible that, what FDI is great, I'm not against FDI, is it possible that we're a little bit too reliant on it, and that's hurting Indigenous business industry?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, like foreign direct investment, and so like I'll say like I'll kind of reference it to multinational companies instead of foreign direct investment. So like we tax them a lot, and any company in Ireland that makes over 750 million euro turnover, or if they revenue 750 million euro a year, they're taxed at 15%. If they earn below that, they're taxed at 12.5% on corporation tax. That's just straight corporation tax on what they make, right?
Yeah.
So that makes up, I'm fairly sure last year in 2023 in Q4 or Q3. So that's, if you split the year into quarters, that's how they do it on the CSO website, and you see where, like what's what. I'm fairly sure that multinational companies made up for 1/4 of our exchequer, the revenue in, right? So that's multinational companies. Where the money that we're making, the government is bringing in to be able to pay for the government's current and capital account is 1/4 coming from multinational companies, which is dangerous. It's really dangerous, right? Now, you can argue that the over-reliance on FDIs coming out of the crash is a dangerous thing now. Completely agree. Good. I completely agree. That's why, again, I'm for promotion of industry, Indigenous industry and development rurally, and not relying on the private sector. Now, the one thing is though, if you like, FDIs are really important, and if you look at in Germany, they have a load of foreign companies that work that are based in Germany and receive a lot of money there. Now, one of the things why Ireland is so attractive for multinational companies, especially American companies, is because we had low corporation tax for a while. Do you remember the thing with Apple? They got fined by the EU because they weren't paying a lot of corporation tax to us.
Yeah.
That's because there was a deal made that they paid less. But in turn, Apple gave loads of people in Ireland jobs.
Yeah.
In Cork especially, I think they're hiring maybe 3,000 people, 4,000 people.
I think that's correct, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
So they're paying all those people are paying taxes, which is returning to the exchequer. So what we're losing to Apple in corporation tax, we're giving citizens of the state jobs, and we're returning back on tax on fuel, goods, anything like that. So on a broad view, you're not losing by attracting these foreign direct investments. Now, whether or not it's a critique on Fine Gael, I think it is dangerous.
Okay.
Right? I think it isn't, because if something goes wrong with them, we lose a big source of our revenue and income into the country, which is a problem. And I do believe though that as the government is making moves to correct that and to bring down the reliance on those multinational companies, I do believe that we do promote Irish businesses, but not well enough. So yeah,
that's a brilliant answer. Would you say you are, and I'm not in any way trying to get you in trouble, and I won't be getting you in trouble because you've said in Fine Gael, you've said before, you're allowed to disagree and there's no problem.
Yeah.
So would you say your opinion is maybe slightly on Indigenous, promoting Indigenous business and industry? Would you say that's slightly against the party line, or do you think you're pretty much?
No, I think I'm. Well, I wouldn't see the idea of party line is weird because people would say towing the party line.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I see as you're on the minimum. That's where you're just hitting, you're just agreeing with everything. But then you've got a lot that you don't agree with as well. So you're balancing. But I would say I'm imbalanced. I would say that I'm quite above and quite forward thinking for Fine Gael, in agreement with the view of a lot of others within the party. Because I don't like to say I'm towing the party line or I'm meeting the line, because I feel that's the minimum, the bottom, the minimum commitment or the minimum interest you need to have in what's going on.
Yeah.
I like saying that I'm above it. I like to say I don't feel myself that I'm above it, but I like to say that I want to try to reach a higher point where I'm saying, I can see that line, but I'm trying to do my best to stay and move forward with it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fair play to you.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit about the EU there a while ago. free trade, etc. You know, how do you see Ireland's relationship with the EU yourself?
I think it's very good. Like, okay, I'm gonna just touch on Maria McGuinness for a second. I know she's been put forward for election for presidency, and all the best of luck to her. I hope she does well. She's a great woman. She's just as I'm gonna call her a servant.
Yeah, that's a fair word, I would say.
Yeah. And but I think in the EU we like Ireland in the EU or Fine Gael in the EU is different. I think because like you've got a lot of independent representatives in the EU.
Yeah.
And then, for example, what's his name? Mhór, is it?
Michael
McNamara. Like he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a really good speaker, and he brings his like whether or not I agree with what he says is a different thing. But for Ireland, he's a great guy there because his presence is really good. Like people will listen to him in Europe as an MEP.
Yeah.
And then Fine Gael, like Pascal has a great role, and like a few others hold great roles. But we're part of a bigger party within the EU.
Yes.
So like a lot of people would say like, oh, the EU controls Fine Gael, but it's not true because Fine Gael is part of a bigger party within the EU. Like we don't belong. We're not Fine Gael in the EU. We're a bigger party again.
Yeah.
So we're diluted down, and in Ireland, our representation is tiny. Like we are 6 million people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In France, there's what 60 million.
Yeah.
Like France is 10 times bigger than us, but yet we can try to compete with France to have the same say. Is one thing. Now I know like Ireland traditionally has a great diplomatic say on a lot of international affairs. There's nothing that I can't kick that down at all. What I'm saying is that a lot of people expect to be treated the same as countries who have a higher proportion of representation in the EU. And people need to realise that we are not that big. Now you can argue, oh, we're one of the richest countries in the EU, whatever. I don't want to get into that because that's a bit of a false statement, whatever.
Okay.
But like in the EU, I think we're doing quite well. From being and then like we took a lot of money out of the EU, and now we contribute money into the EU. So from being on our knees to asking the EU for money and asking, oh, please come support us, and now we're giving money to the EU to help countries like Greece took a lot of money out of the EU, but like different countries like that. So we've reached our low, and now we're back on our high, and our status is only going up because we are taking it by the horns and really using it to our benefit. And we trade all around the EU as well, which is really good for Ireland. Because if we're producing goods and we're paying people as well, like in our factories or in our businesses or whichever, to help produce those goods, and then those goods are going out and the money is coming into Ireland, we're only boosting Ireland up more, and more development can happen. So within the EU, I think we're doing really well.
Yeah.
What do you think? I actually am interested.
Yeah. So look, to start on pro EU, I think it's been a very good thing for Ireland, in fairness. I suppose when I look, and feel free to cut me at any stage if you disagree here, if I'm saying any false statements. I suppose as it's gone on, now you have to be careful to have your cake and eat it, because of course we have benefited a lot from it, so that means you have to maybe follow rules sometimes, which I totally respect. But I suppose when I look at stuff like the common fisheries policy, the development of a potential EU army has been talked about for some time now. I actually have a question later on about fines for climate change and stuff like this. Look, this wouldn't be stuff that would motivate me to leave the EU myself. I wouldn't be an IRA exeter, but it would be stuff that would make me question it. Does it need some potential reform? Because I suppose the primary reason why I think the EU was a great thing, this is the primary number one reason, is it basically achieved peace on Europe for the first time in known history. Like a group of nations coming together to have friendly relationships and etc. all the rest of it. Also, I suppose I like you mentioned the free trade element. I think that's fantastic as well. if we can make the price of living cheaper, for example, like you're not happy with that policy of 20% tax you have to pay for car comes from example Germany. I think it's great. Who would be against making people's lives cheaper and easier? And I think free trade between a friendly group of nations has potential to do that. But yeah, I suppose I just do have a few, I would say, reservations with. I look at this. I know, in fairness, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are starting to go against this, but the Mercosur deal, where we're looking at importing beef, and now you've much more agriculture background than me. I have a great interest in it, but I haven't actually lived it, unlike you. But I suppose I don't think it makes sense to be importing meat from Brazil and these places when we literally have world class agricultural stuff ourselves. So I would be against like the Mercosur deal myself. So I suppose I have a few reservations with the EU, but overall I do think it's a good thing for Ireland. But maybe could do with some reform.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you say. With the a small thing on imported beef, the national herd has gone down in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
So 50 years ago, the national herd was bigger than it is now.
Yeah.
Now you can argue were those cows as healthy as the cows are now? I don't know. I wasn't around 50 years ago. But if we have a dropping number of cows that are being held and stocked in Ireland, I mean, you could see why people would say, well, maybe we might have to import beef. But I can see what you're saying is we should be able to produce enough beef in Ireland to sustain ourselves. But there is some places in the EU where they won't produce beef.
Yeah.
And it isn't viable for them to do it. So I would argue that there is a lot of the EU could produce enough to Europe in itself can sustain itself without a problem. That's not an issue. But I don't know. Again, some reservations and things need reform. So I'm not gonna that's it. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's great.
Yeah.
So no, look, we won't dwell too much longer on the EU, but I think there's no doubt when you look at how economically we were on our knees, I suppose, from the 50s, I think of, and stuff like this. And you said we almost came with a begging bowl, please sir, can I have some more? And it's worked out well for us. So we have to have an element of gratefulness for that. But I don't think that means we have to just completely not question stuff either.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Because I suppose another thing is when you look at how Brexit has worked out in Britain, that's a literal example of a country leaving the EU. I don't think they've got what they thought they would get out of it.
No.
So that would make me that would be the main thing that would make me afraid of leaving, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, England have control now over their laws.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But what? I mean, they got to keep their currency when they were in the EU.
They did.
That's a big deal for them.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, England was in recession.
Yeah.
Last year. This is what I'm saying. I mean, now you can obviously say hard times lead to good times lead to hard times.
Yeah.
Because things go up and down. But it's hard to see with England. I mean, England is in a state of crisis at the moment.
Yeah.
Because they don't know where they're at. They're divided and then they're mixed.
Yeah.
And it's a kettle of fish. I honestly couldn't. I actually can't speak about England. I feel sorry for Scotland and Wales. And Northern Ireland.
That's actually the next question, so look, we'll get straight into it.
Yeah,
let's go.
Grand.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm pleased for Northern Ireland because they are actually lucky where they are. So they have access to the EU through Ireland, and then they have access to the UK market through being part of the UK.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, there is the free trade area of Ireland and England, but we still pay import duty into England, and not on some specific goods, just weird things like that. But it is a bit of a weird one. But they're in the Goldilocks zone, as I like to say it,
right.
in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Now in Northern Ireland, they have really good industry. They actually have per area, they have better industry and development, and actually have a better standard of living than we do in the south, because relatively their wages are lower than ours, but their affordability of life is a bit easier than ours. Like we could earn a bit more than them, but things are a lot more expensive here.
Yeah.
So you got that argument as well. With Northern Ireland, it's a weird one because like we've done business with people in Northern Ireland for a long time. Always been great people to deal with.
Yeah.
We love doing business up there. And what I find with people in Northern Ireland is when they want something to get done, they just say what they want to do. They're very simple about it. Gets done, and that's it, and it all gets started. Things in the south kind of take a long time to develop, and then it's all waiting on one thing or other. Like people in the north are very straightforward. They either want something or they don't, and that's kind of good.
That's a very good way of putting it. Do you? I suppose you kind of almost. Do you see Ireland as one nation? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, the island of Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do.
The north of Ireland.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah. Oh, I know. By the way, I'm not one of these people who fucking polices you, and if you say northern or that's completely.
Yeah.
But what I mean is like, do you? I suppose usually when I talk to people in Fine Gael, I suppose they say unity is a legitimate aspiration, but it's not. It's not like an immediate priority. Would that be your line of thinking?
I can't say because I'm like this is like people can say like, oh, it's a priority to me.
Yeah.
But like what difference does it make to someone in the south? Like you have to think about okay, I know like it could be great, like I want a united Ireland. Right? I'm fairly sure that everybody wants a united Ireland in the south. Well, besides
to an extent, yeah.
To an extent.
Yeah.
A lot of people are for the idea a lot of people are for the idea of a united Ireland to be one nation on our own island.
Yeah.
That is us, right? Now, I don't live in the north of Ireland.
Yeah.
I haven't faced the maybe scrutiny or whatever it is up there. That is a different they have a different understanding of the whole thing.
Yeah.
They live in an area where it's not spoken about, but there is a lot of things hanging in the air about things that have happened in the past and horrible things that have happened, and there's been great progression, but a lot of people have fought for a lot of different things up there.
Correct.
And if that's then just removed and just I'm going to say pluralized and just smoothened over, a lot of people will lose a sense of identity.
Yeah.
Because you see now you're coming to the point where people are Northern Irish.
That's correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's the right tech, etc. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that people have a belonging to that area.
Yeah.
And like some people could argue, is it right to then take that away from people? Because we're then imposing our republic or the republic's culture on people who are Northern Irish.
Yes.
That they've built a culture there, they've built communities there that have stemmed on that area. And they have they're not English, they're not the Republic of Ireland, they're Northern Ireland. They're Northern Irish. That's their the way people are Scottish, the way people are Welsh.
Yeah.
So it's like if England just hopped over into Scotland and just just went over and put a blanket of England over Scotland. That's like us going up and putting a blanket over the north. Now, but that's why the people of Northern Ireland have to be happy with coming to the south.
Certainly.
So, I don't want to just blur out those people who feel like they are Northern Irish.
Yeah.
Because they're fully entitled to feel like that if they grew up in that area.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't impose anything on them.
Yeah.
Because those people they may have never done anything wrong, never been in any conflict or anything like that, but they may feel themselves that this is where they're from. This is their identity. And they might feel like they're not connected to the south at all. But if there is a vast majority in the north that want to join the south, well, why not?
Yeah.
Do it. But I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What do you think should be the majority vote for a yes in the north to say that they should join us? Should it be at 51? Should it be at 71? Where do you think, how much of a percentage of people have to say yes for us to be able to be allowed to join, for them to join us?
It's a good question because
I was thinking
it's very divided. Yeah, you were thinking about it, great, because it is very divided society, I suppose. I do look. I'm biased. I want to see United Ireland as you do.
Yeah.
I would say 50 plus 1.
50 plus 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Like I.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, like
It's a
I
good
actually
question.
don't know
Yeah.
because like it's a weird one, and like yeah, I just.
No, it's a very good question. I suppose, and there's probably some people who are thinking it's not a good question. I'll tell you why I think it's a good question. Is because it's always going to be an extremely divided society. You know, there's people of all different traditions, and it used to just be British and Irish. Now there's a new element in there of just Northern Irish. As you said, that's very correct. So I suppose, yeah, like but the reason I suppose at the end of the day, I am a Democrat, and if there's a majority, I think that should be the case. Like for like the United Kingdom has survived since the Good Friday Agreement because there's been a 50+1 majority who want to remain in the United Kingdom. So why would we change that now? Well, I get why we would change it because there's so much division there, but I think it's only fair that, you know, the United Kingdom has survived since the GFA for over 20 years now. From a 50+1 majority.
Yeah.
I don't personally think from a democratic perspective it's right to change that now. That would be my logic. But it's a good question. I'd have to have a bit of a deeper think in that, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like because like then you could argue. Yeah, go on.
No, you're absolutely fine. No problem. And I suppose, like, look, I actually over the last maybe 12 to 15 months have been in touch with a lot of people from the north. If I'm honest, mainly nationalists, but a good few unionists as well.
Yeah.
A good few unionists as well. And they are like, I'm going to sound like I'm pure glazing here, but they're mighty people. They really are.
Yeah.
Like, and they've been through incredible turmoil and all that. Like, I suppose my the number one thing is sort of delivering services together is what I would like. Now I know we're seeing that to an extent since the GFA. There's technically an all-Ireland economy, but I'll just give you a story here. I'm very bad. I actually forget her name, but perhaps she would prefer not to be named anyway. And the family. I do know that the family is campaigning currently. You know, but basically anyway, there was this woman from County Derry who who got diagnosed with cancer, and she was brought over. She could have got treatment in Dublin, but wasn't able to go to Dublin due to some sort of jurisdiction issue, and she ended up in hospital in a London hospital instead, and unfortunately she passed away. Now I'm not saying, you know, it definitely would have saved her life had she been in Dublin. But maybe we don't even need to see Irish unity for this, but I would just like to see us delivering services on an all-Ireland basis more to prevent potential cases like that happening. You know, I'm just trying. Other elements would be, I suppose, there is a lot of cases that I'm hearing of. I suppose look, thanks be to God, we've made a lot of progress, as you said. And it's nowhere near as bad as what it was sort of when the Northern Irish state was incepted. But there is still some cases where nationalists, Catholics, whatever you want to call them, are going through some I don't know if discrimination the right word, but some difficulty still. Scrutiny, that's a good word. You know, at the hands of, I suppose, very extreme loyalist groups. Now, it's very important that there's a little bit of a distinction, I think, between the word loyalist and unionist. A unionist is just someone who wants to continue the link between Ireland and Britain, and that's their political persuasion. Like, why would you have a begrudge? Well, I disagree with it, but like, why would you be against that? I suppose a loyalist is a bit more extreme. They would maybe perhaps be willing to almost go to war almost to defend the union, which you have to respect in many ways as well. But it's just a bit more of it's a bit more extremist, I suppose. And like, I suppose what I'd like to see from unity is, if a unity was ever to happen, was the two traditions coming together as much as possible in a sort of. And I'm going to get onto Varadkar now in a minute. I like kind of the angle Varadkar is coming at it of, because you actually made very good points there that you wouldn't want to impose your identity. And there's probably the odd, sorry now, Egypt, who would say that's you being a Westboro, or that's you being something like this, a Shonin. But what you're actually doing is the opposite. You're actually being anti-colonial.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, no, I don't want to go in and impose my Irish ideology on you.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. And that's the kind of Ireland, the kind of united Ireland, if it ever happens, it has to be democratically, that I want to see, I suppose. I'm kind of blanking now, like it's nearly something we could do a full podcast on, because it's something I'm very passionate on, but we'll move on anyway. But I just think yeah, it's very important. And so to take it back to the South, probably the most contentious issue in currently, I think it tops the opinion polls, etc., is for better or for worse, is migration. Now, I'll be honest, it's something I've talked bones out of. I don't like talking about it because it's a very divisive, touchy subject. But how, in your opinion, how should Ireland treat migrants when they arrive in the country?
Utmost respect.
Yeah.
But you treat them as migrants.
Right.
They're not citizens of the state. They're not. They are. We don't know who they are. Yeah. Essentially, right? So, how I say it is, right? Australia. Look at how they manage everything, right? If I want to go to Australia, I have to apply for a visa. I have to go there. They check me all out to get vaccines, everything like that, and then I'm awarded a visa or a status of residency for a small bit, right? Going there legally, right? I'm not fleeing war. I'm just coming from Ireland. That's how I'd enter Australia, right? Now, if people want to come from countries outside of the EU into Ireland, it should be the exact same process. A proper legal process that's managed, and people in Ireland know who's coming in, because that then ensures the safety of the state and the safety of all those in the state. As a government, the government needs to, it has a responsibility to the members of to the citizens of the state to keep them safe. Now, if it's not knowing who's coming into the state, that is a dangerous thing, right? And now, part of the European Union is that we are all identified, we all have passports, we can all travel around the EU fairly easily. But if there's people coming in here that are from outside the EU and we don't know who they are, we're essentially creating instability. Yeah. And it is rocking the boat. And when you rock the boat, people get nervous. And that is how opinion polls, that's why it's driving up to the top of opinion polls.
Yeah.
I think migrants, you see, as Irish people, we immigrated from Ireland and went all over the world, right?
Okay.
Now, I don't think we should treat people who come here differently to the way that we were treated. But we were treated horribly for a long time around the world, especially in America. For a good period of time, Irish were treated lesser than people. Now, I'm not saying we should do that to people. What I'm saying is that people, or migrants, shouldn't come to Ireland expecting to be treated the same as yourself or myself or anybody who's a citizen of the state. Now, obviously you could argue that you're lucky enough to be born into a country that has no turmoil or war, or people aren't slandered or injustifully treated because of their, whatever's going on in their life, any specifics, right? And people are fleeing this, and people deserve to live in peace. But I'd argue that there's people coming from places where there is no turmoil, and you could argue they're being scrutinised for maybe their sexuality or their way of life or the way they want to work, or whatever. But that is the responsibility of that is down to those people in those countries to build up their country to be better. I don't think that the solution to someone living in a nation that's in a bad state is to leave and to go somewhere else, because that nation will continue to stay in a bad state, and no one there will actually be able to inhabit that place well and have a peaceful life. States go through turmoil, and there is wars and there is ups and downs, and I know that you need to protect women and children, and I understand that. But things can be brought back, and reviews can be especially in African countries and things like that, where there is turmoil, and people need to develop their own countries. I'm not against people coming to migrate and to flee, things like that. But those people are afraid and they're scared, and they don't have the oomph to try and make things better in their own country as well.
Yeah.
And you need to develop your own place to actually have some sort of connection to it. Like, I mean, if people are just going to be running away from things all year or all their life, sorry, like, they're going to have nothing to come back to because they have no identity. They're just going and hopping from one place to another. I don't know. I mean, people are fully entitled to do what they want, right? But I don't think people should expect to be treated the same as someone who contributes to a country and is part of that country and contributes to its culture.
Yeah. When
they're different. And they come from a different place, which is completely respectable upon, and they have their own culture, which is great for them, 100%. But I think that people shouldn't expect to be treated the same if they come here without even asking.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I have to say. I've no begrudges against any particular nation, any particular group of people.
Yeah.
Like, I just label all migrants as people who come here who the state don't know.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a really, really strong analysis, I would say. There is in Lithuania, I believe, they have a border kind of agency where they employ about 4,000 people, so they'd be a good employer as well. And it kind of helps them to regulate, I suppose, who comes in and who's coming out. I think that would be a welcome addition in Ireland. Now, I know we're a bit different now because we're an island nation. They're literally in the middle of Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit different, but you know, I think a border agency. Now, I know Gardaí are starting to get a lot more tough, probably since maybe it would be fair to say since, I suppose, Jim O'Callaghan came in. But yeah, you know, but like, no, that is I think that's, I honestly wouldn't have really any disagreement with what you said, because I do think I will say this, I do think migration has been like a good thing for Ireland because, you know, like, I know many of a migrant background who have kind of assimilated well and integrated, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
And
I just say joined, like, they join.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a good way to say it.
Like, I think that, like, a lot of people say, like, assimilated or integrated, like, I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, integrated, whatever, like, that's like, it's like putting a piece into a machine. You know what I mean? Like, people join our community and we accept them. Like that, like that's it. It is what it is. But I think, like, another thing, you talk about the guards and you talk about, like, this thing in Lithuania. Like, I think that, especially in Ireland, we know everyone. Like, you know, where we come from, especially, we know everyone around.
Definitely,
right? And if someone is there that we don't know, you feel a bit uneasy about something you don't know. That's just a natural human thing. If something is unknown, you're a fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can't get your head around it. You don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're about. And there's nothing stopping you from meeting them and asking them how's it going.
Yes.
But a lot of these people don't want to be met or don't want to be talked to. Or there's the language barrier, which then brings it down again.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But yeah.
So yeah, we've had a very good discussion about migration there. And I have to say, I think you've spoken a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's, you know, I would be a nationalist in the sense that I believe the best way that you can preserve culture is through nationhood. And you know, I definitely I wouldn't be an ethno-nationalist. I don't think that you have to necessarily be white and blonde, blue eyes to you know, be Irish or whatever nation. But I do you know, I think like, I have many coloured friends who I would consider some of the best, proudest Irish people ever. But at the same time, there is an obvious thing where if someone is particularly coming in like a first generation migrant from another country, they're going to have a harder time, for want of a better word, I suppose, assimilating.
Yeah.
Joining is probably a more better word, to be fair.
Yeah.
A better word. Just, we won't spend too much longer on the migration issue, but I suppose just one thing I might put to you, if you don't mind, is I think somewhere where the government could do a bit better is community consultation. So, you know, oftentimes, I suppose, centres, iPass centres, etc., are just kind of lodged into a community. Like this is my, I suppose my source here would be like the likes of Upfront with Katie Hannon, people have went on and they feel like it's been put in without their consultation. And then if they have any objection to it, they're far right this, and they're fascists and all this, and they're ridiculed basically. How do you think the government should approach community consultation in the future?
Yeah, so I suppose where I would come from viewing the whole thing is what happened in Letterkenny.
Right.
If you remember.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but
Yeah.
if you want, go ahead.
Basically, there's an iPass centre put in next to a primary school, and there was a serious outrage
Yes, that's right, yeah.
by the people of Letterkenny, and there was basically the government had, or whatever entity of the government had been in contact with a local property owner. Property owner then made the decision to deliver on an iPass centre with his property and his services, whatnot, and would be rewarded by means of payment from the government to house these people. And doing so, you could argue that the person that owned the property knew that if he consulted people in the area, he would then know that he wouldn't be able to build it because people would be against it. But the financial return on it is too great for that person. So the eyes of someone seeing, a lot of zeros after a few numbers, because they can host these people in their property or whatever, will outweigh the idea of consulting the public on that.
Completely agree with you.
So it's like, I'm not going to put the onus on private individuals who own these iPass centres or who manage these iPass centres, because that's unfair. Because these people have the right to earn a living.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that be correct in whoever's view, whoever's watching this may have a completely different view and say these people are evil or whatever. But the people of Letterkenny are completely entitled to be against it.
Yeah.
Because that's where they live, that's their community, that's their area, that's where they're connected to. And if they see that there's a lot of people coming into their area that they don't know, who are unknown to the government, and are being, I'm not going to say forcefully integrated, because they can't integrate because they can't work.
Yes.
Right? And they can't provide for themselves. So the government is providing for unknown people in an area where people don't know these people, and it's benefiting one individual, maybe one individual or a collection of individuals who own that property. So there's only a small amount of people benefiting fiscally or financially from a decision that's made that, I'm not going to say hurts people, because indirectly it hurts people, it hurts the area, this culture, or well, it doesn't hurt culture, but it hurts it hurts the happiness or the well-being of the area, because there's a lot of unknown people coming in there, and these people, obviously there's a language barrier and different ideas on how things go about. But I do believe the government should consult communities, but then these private individuals who are hosting these people are then ridiculed, and then they're labelled badly, and then they're how do you say, what's the right way to say it? Their standard of living will decrease because they'll be ridiculed, and people will have a lesser look upon them, even though they're trying to support themselves in a better way, which they're entitled to do.
Yeah.
And if you or I owned a big property, we'd have that conflicting question of, do I put an iPass centre in here, make loads of money, and support my family and raise the standard of living for future generations ahead because of this great amount of money that I can receive from the government? Or do I not do it and make sure everybody else is happy? So you've got that going on as well. And of course there should be consultation. People should know about what's going on. That's how things should work. If you don't know what's going on, then anything could change ahead of you, and you just have to put up with it and say, oh yeah, that's done now. So yeah, that's my whole opinion on consultation.
Great, fantastic. I think I would hold back from calling these people evil.
No, I'm not.
You're not. You're doing the
Yeah,
opposite. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
No, as in I'm talking the people, the fellas who are making a few zeros. I'm talking about. I would hold back from calling them evil, because you made a great point there. They basically are faced with the option of public scrutiny but you could like almost retire a few generations. Not actually, but you know make
You
spend
increase the
time
standard of
living.
living, yeah.
Exactly. Or you keep good relations with the community. So I would hold back from calling them evil, but I would, and we haven't disagreed much in this podcast. It's healthy to disagree. I would call it myself profiteering.
Yeah.
I don't think it's morally right what they're doing myself. And I'm not like against people owning private enterprise and people making a few bad for themselves, but within reason, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think most of these cases that we're seeing are within reason. Personally, myself. So yeah, I just wonder. Now, I suppose the question is, it's easy to be against something. What are you for? That's a big thing for me, you know. But I just wonder, should iPass be abolished altogether? But it's about finding an appropriate working new system then to replace it with. But look, if you're happy enough, we'll move on. But I think really good discussion there on migration. So according to the CSO, recorded incidents of robbery, extortion and hijack offences were up 18%, or 390 to 2,572. That was generally what the CSO website said. The maths doesn't seem right there, but basically they went up. We can agree on that. Would this be a concern for you, and if so, how would you solve it?
Obviously a concern.
Yeah.
I think, well, like, it's weird how you, like, solving crime or solving issues to do with antisocial behaviour and crime and things like this. It's a really difficult one, like, because you've got people who feel the need to have to do these things, and then you have to go to the end of that issue of why do people feel the need to have to do this?
Yes.
Right? Is it because they can't make ends meet? Or is it because they've been raised in this kind of environment where this is acceptable? And then you could argue that maybe there isn't enough police presence, or there isn't enough presence of the law to say that, oh, well, people can think they can do what they want. So there's a few different approaches to that, but I think the government are approaching this well by bringing in more guards. But the real like nuts and bolts of it all is, why do people feel like they have the ability to do this?
So right.
Like, why do people think that in their mind, like, okay, I'm going to eye up this house here now, I'm going to break in there at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to take everything in there. Why am I going to do it? Oh, it'll benefit me because I'll get maybe some valuable goods, I'll sell them, I'll make some money because I'm not making enough money, or can't support my family. Why can't I support my family? Oh, I can't get a job, or I'm uneducated, like these things. Now, if people, like, now, and that could send back to their parents saying, oh, you don't need to be educated, you can do what you want. Like, the nuts and bolts of it come down to people being raised in an environment where they think this is acceptable, and that is where you kill it. Not bringing in loads of guards, because guards, you have to think about it, guards are meeting the situation at its height, at its most dangerous. The guards are at risk. They're there when, like, that's going on, when, like, all this antisocial behaviour is going on. They're there to stop it. Yeah. But if you can stop it before you is thought about starting, that's where you kill it.
Yeah. I really like the angle you came at that there, and you've actually done this a few times in this podcast now. You know, you're very good at looking at it from both angles. So it would be very easy to just, I suppose, go off and say these people are just like harming people and we just shame them or whatever. But it is important to look at it from their perspective. They could be struggling to make ends meet, in poverty, etc. Like, I do believe, and again, I can get this fact checked now, you know, while I'm editing, I suppose, but I think there is something like over 500,000 in the state living below the poverty line currently.
Yeah, well, like, definitely.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I wasn't just saying this to like be agreeable earlier. I do genuinely admire the economic work that Fine Gael did, I suppose, since 2011, since the crash. But I suppose my question would be, what good is that? What good is a strong economy when your citizens are still kind of suffering? Now, I'm not saying everyone is suffering. Like, thanks be to God, I'm very fortunate. But like, so I'm not speaking for myself necessarily, I'm speaking for, I suppose, other people who are, you know, having a tough time with cost of living, housing crisis, etc.
Yeah. I honestly, like, it's a weird. I don't know what to say about it because
Sorry, yeah.
it's like 500,000 people in poverty, right? And Ireland has a strong economy.
Yeah.
But Ireland's economy is skewed because a lot of money is in the country, but it actually isn't. It goes to different countries, and we make a lot of money here. Our wages are very high.
Yes.
In comparison to other countries in the EU, but the price of everything is very high as well.
Yeah.
But if you got someone sitting below a minimum wage, or sitting on a minimum wage, or getting payments from the government to support their families, or people who are unemployed, or people who are on social welfare, then you've got a situation where prices are rising and wages are rising, but people are on social welfare are staying at the same rate. Now, what people have to understand is that people on social welfare spend every single thing they get from the government. They haven't got the opportunity to save. That is what it's for. That's there for the bread and butter. That's there just to keep you over the line, just to keep you going. It's not there to make you money.
Yeah.
You make money by working. I'm not saying, go and work, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unemployed. Some people are very difficult circumstances.
Sure.
They're not able to do those things, and I fully respect that. Some people are just that is an unfortunate circumstance for some people, and that's how their life goes, and I feel very sorry for those people. But that's what social welfare is there for. It keeps people going. It's not there to make people rich. It's not there to get people up above the poverty line. Yeah. It's to keep people hungry. In a sense, you get fed. You get all your things get paid for, your medical expenses. You can then go into work and get above that line of being on social welfare. And even people working minimum wage will still be on the poverty line because expenses are so high in Ireland. Yeah. But people who are on social welfare, especially now, Ireland has an extremely low unemployment rate.
True.
Right. But what I'm saying is that it's not there. It's not there to replace a wage, right? Yeah. Social welfare. It's there just to keep you going. Yeah. Right. But the people there who have a wage are getting taxed as well, and they're making nearly just a bit more than people on social welfare. And that, you can argue, is why a lot of people stay on the poverty line, because they think, well, what's the point working when I can use this time just to be chilling out? And you can argue that, but things are really expensive in Ireland. Rent is really expensive, housing is really expensive. A lot of things are really expensive. It's a problem. Yeah. Things are really expensive. The cost of living, you hear it being said in the media everywhere. And wages have obviously gone up last January, minimum wage went up. But people can't work all the time, and different circumstances, and it leads to those being below the poverty line. And also, if you have a young family, cost of having a family, there's if you have, for example, 2 parents in a household, 3 children, there's 3 people there sucking money out of 2 people making money, right? So you're in a deficit already. So you're living below your means. So there you go. There's a load of different things.
It's an extremely complex.
Really, really complex one.
Yeah.
I actually find it really difficult to think about it because there's so many things to play.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
No, you're spot on.
It's really, really crazy.
It's not an overnight job,
Yeah. It's the same with 5,000 homeless people in Ireland. There's people who claim to be homeless but are not homeless.
Right. Yeah.
People on the housing list who need a social home could claim that they're homeless because they don't own their home and they're being housed by the government and they're out on the street. You see a lot of cases now where there's people there who are out on the street or who are being sustained in hotels but refuse to take a council house because it doesn't meet what they want. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. And that's a small amount of people. Yeah, what I'm saying is the homelessness crisis is a big one, and especially homeless children. There's a lot of problems with people living below the poverty line and homeless people. I could go on and on and on, and it's a weird one. It's really complex, and some things I say about it, I think back and I'm like, why did I say that? It doesn't make any sense. But that's because you're trying to figure out another thing. So it's weird. And you're
developing your ideas. It's totally normal.
It's a real mind-boggler.
Yeah. And this is kind of intertwining a little bit with the migration issue again. I think Councillor Patrick Quinlan of the National Party found that 49% of the 15,000 who are homeless are actually non-nationals.
Yeah.
So it's tragic, and I really hope that they can find a better situation. Sincerely, I think it's awful to see like the tent city and people, all that kind of stuff. But I suppose, is it Ireland's responsibility to like look after them, as you were kind of touching on earlier?
It's 7,000 people, like.
Yeah. So
You know what I mean? So
So it's a complex one. And please God, in our time, it will become better. That's all I can say. This is always a bit of a rhetorical question, because I know you're quite like close to them. But who would you be backing for the presidential election coming?
Very biggest.
Yeah, great. What kind of qualities in Mhór McGuinness do you like take to?
She has time for everybody, like regardless of who you are. She's a mother. She has 4 children. She understands what it's like being a parent. She's got a real rounded view of Ireland. Like she lives very close to the border.
She does, yeah.
And I mean, she's a brilliant woman. She's extremely successful in her field. She's very well regarded by everybody that I talk to. And yeah, I just can't speak bad about her at all. I think she's great. And I haven't even seen the other candidates. I've seen one independent lady. Is it O'Sullivan?
Catherine Connolly,
yeah, she's going for it.
Yeah.
I promote Mhór McGuinness, and that's that. Yeah.
Great play to you. There's another one I believe that in my opinion, has a good chance of getting on the ballot. His name is Declan Gandy. He'd be quite a socially and economically conservative candidate, and it looks like there's a good chance he'll get the 20 nominations. So that's kind of how the ballot is shaping up. There's talk of Mary Hardy is her surname, from Fianna Fáil. I think that's her name. So
what about McGregor?
That's a whole other can of worms. Yeah. Yeah, McGregor. Look, what do you think of McGregor?
I don't know. He's great on camera. Like seems to get a lot of attention. He's great at getting attention. I seen he did an interview with that guy. What's his name? Tucker Carlson. Yeah. I actually saw McGregor in the Rolls Royce. I was walking down Pier Street and they drove past me.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
With Tucker Carlson in the car. The day of they filmed the podcast.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what to think about it.
It's a deep one. Look, we won't. That's nearly it's nearly like a whole podcast.
Yeah.
But look, I wouldn't be. I'll just put it out on the record. Like, I'm not a fan of McGregor at all. But I used to be. I think as the whole country used to be. But we won't. Look, it's not really working into. But Mhór McGuinness, definitely a very capable lady. I think even her biggest critics couldn't deny that. There was, just to maybe push back a little bit, there was talk, according to the Irish Times, that her, and you can correct me if I'm wrong anyway in this, but that her office cost the Exchequer, I think, something like €800,000.
Yeah.
Would you have any concerns with that?
I don't know, because I was reading this as well, and it's just talk.
Okay.
I'd love to see, I don't know if you've seen Albert Dolan on Fianna Fáil TD from East Galway. Is at the moment he's rifling through what's going on in the government and costs of things and everything like that.
Okay.
I'd actually love to hear Mairead just talk about it. If she just explained what it is about, then I'd actually listen to it.
Yeah.
It's easy to say just talk about Glamour Hall being costing Glamour the community €1 million a year.
True.
I mean, big numbers get thrown around a lot. And things are crazy. Sorry for my language.
No, please curse us all you want. All you want. I should have told you that at the start.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
The security hub for the Department of Agriculture, this crazy stuff, bike shelters.
Well, yeah.
This crazy stuff. So I would with Mairead, if she said to me herself, I believe it.
Yeah.
With the media, if I see it firsthand, and there's if it's certified that person confirmed that that's true.
Yeah.
Then I believe it. But yeah.
Brilliant, and that's totally fair.
Yeah.
So this is kind of EU related again. I know we touched a lot on the EU earlier, but Ireland's modern Ireland is so intertwined with the EU. So, according to the Irish Times, Ireland could face a penalty of €28 billion by I think it's due 2030 for failing to meet emissions targets. What would be your perspective, your thoughts on this?
I think that I don't think that we're going to get fined, because I think that when the targets were made, they were made out of fear. Like, there was a lot of fear about global warming 2 years ago, and like it's gone down so much now. Nobody talks about it.
Yes.
Like, it's not in the headlines at all.
No.
Right? So these guidelines, or not targets, were made, they're made kind of expecting this to continue as a really serious issue. There's only one Green Party member in the Dáil.
Yeah.
So that represents how the Irish people think about the climate change and the climate and the environmental impacts of what we do. So if the nation isn't behind the idea of it all, true representation in the Greens, I mean, could you argue that, we could say that these fines were an unachievable target, and that I'd argue we won't get fined.
Great. I hope you're right, because that would be a significant blow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if that happens, fantastic. I suppose I don't want to be repeating myself, but this is the kind of bureaucracy from the EU that I think is a problem myself.
Yeah.
That they're almost forcing your values down upon you, but look, that's fine. This is a bit of a touchy one. Do you yourself support, if you don't mind me asking, Irish neutrality?
Yeah.
You do? Very good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. We can literally move on. I suppose there's a lot of talk over the triple lock, which of course the government argument of that is that the likes of Russia, USA, UK, etc. shouldn't have a veto over where Ireland send peace troops. I think that's actually a pretty fair argument.
No, I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
I don't think they should have
I don't either.
a say.
Yeah.
Because you could argue that those in the Irish Army are committed to Ireland, committed to France, all these places. So what do you want to say on what Irish soldiers do?
100%.
So yeah, that's it.
And so 100%. I suppose my only concern, reservation with it would be is there's, as I kind of alluded to earlier, there's talk of EU militarisation with the threat of Russia, which Russia is a real threat to Europe. I'm not sure it's a threat to Ireland, but to Europe. So I think I would even though I kind of agree in principle that with the triple lock isn't ideal, I think I would, if there was say a referendum on it, I think I would vote against it to keep it, because I just think it's kind of a slippery slope that potentially could be the start of us entering an EU rearmament phase. But to be fair, your answer is very reassuring. You fully support Irish neutrality, so
you see, one thing you can argue about France and all these places having a say is that France that confirm that we are neutral.
Yeah.
Because they, if France are at war, they know that no Irish troops are going anywhere, because they can say if they do or not. Yeah. And they know that if Ireland aren't sending any more troops, they know that they're neutral. Yeah. So it actually ensures Ireland's safety, because all these countries know that Irish troops aren't going anywhere.
100%.
Now you can obviously go behind that and just say oh, we're going to do what we want, and then you're denying France their due right. But
sure.
I mean, these are all these things that are only small issues and only come up in the event that something wrong happens.
True. No, it is quite small. I think myself, I don't think it should have taken up the amount of dial time it did. But it is what it is anyway. That's just the way it goes. So this is kind of the last political question, and I'm conscious of time. But do you, as a young person in Ireland, with the way things currently are, see yourself being able to afford a home? And I don't know if this is something you want in the near future, the distant future, to potentially, raise a family. Do you see that as a distinct possibility currently?
See myself being able to own a home?
Yeah. You do? Great. Yeah. In the medium to short term?
I hope that in the next 10 years there'll be enough supply of houses into the market that it will then meet the demand. But it's a tricky one, because the amount of people wanting houses is always increasing. Yeah. And the demand has to meet that. And Ireland needs to take the view of building enough houses to go over that demand, like they do in Poland. They're constantly building houses every year. it's not a case of they'll build houses for 10 years, then they'll stop for 10 years, they'll build houses for 10 years. It just needs to be a continuous cycle of houses being built all the time.
Yeah.
And that's it. And if that comes into play, which it should do, because the aim is for 60,000 homes a year. Now, obviously, I think we built 20,000 or 30,000 homes this year already.
Okay.
Now, homes and houses are different, obviously.
Sure.
Homes are different sizes, but like, if things are on track, in 10 years' time, that's 600,000 houses. I mean, if there's 4 people in the family, it cuts down the number of people and houses that are already in Ireland. And there's obviously great things there, like derelict houses, grants and things like that. So it is possible, but it is expensive, but it is possible. But that's it.
Well, I really do think housing is one we genuinely could discuss all day. Like, I do believe that it could be actually a full podcast. I'd love to go into derelict houses, etc., but we won't for the moment. I will just say briefly that during the 50s, when like times were really tough economically, we built houses at a faster rate than we are now, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think we need to start creating incentives to bring, now this is easier said than done, but we need to start creating incentives to bring back the various builders in Australia, Canada, who are building homes, and Irish, obviously, who are building, home. We need to find incentives to bring them back home.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree, but like even things like James Gagan brought forward in the Dáil on Tuesday, like cutting the red tape on government compulsive purchase ordering. Like, if the government can purchase property to then develop on, you're slowing development down completely.
Yeah.
So you need to cut the red tape now. You need to cut the red tape in planning. Things are too technical.
Yeah.
What you need, like the spec you need to be building houses nowadays is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's like nowhere else in the EU. You do not need to build houses to the same spec as what you do in Ireland.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like.
Yeah.
And that needs to be cut down, and that will ease up builders' minds, and like it makes things cheaper, takes less time to build if the spec is lower, and all in all, people once they get into a house then can start saving, or they can start renovating their house, improving their house. Once they've got a good secure home, then that resolves the issue of having
Great.
focus on the head. Yeah.
Brilliant, 100%. A bit away from political life.
Yeah.
I think I said this earlier, but we know each other a good while, which is great. And I know that sport plays a huge role in your life.
Yeah.
Could you kind of explain to the viewers what sport means to you?
Right. So, like, sport means like connectivity with other people.
Yeah.
And when you get to that place, for example, playing a match, when you get to that place when you're, it's like after half time, you've got 10, 15 minutes left, and everybody is on the same goal of, like, everybody, it's like, it's not easy to run, it's not easy to play, but you're gone past that stage of getting over the running, but everybody's pushing forward, and the emotions are high, and stress is high, and everything like that. And only in that moment then you can appreciate sport as much, when you're in competition, when you're really in like, especially in hurling, and when you're in football, when you're really in that moment, that's when it means the most to me. And I don't know how to explain that, but it's just that moment of when everyone's together pushing for one goal, and like something can change, and then you have to fight back, and I don't know, that dynamic of things.
I never forget the game we played a few years ago. We did get 1-1 in the knockout final. Now, you got plenty over us over the years, but Jesus, that was, yes, oh my God. Castor Roach.
Yeah.
That was some game. Oh my God.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And in fairness, I'm not trying to just like lick up to you now, but in fairness, Jesus, you were fucking imperious that day. In fairness to you now, you were very good.
Yeah.
I actually remember, I don't know if you remember this, but one of your lads, like, in my opinion, fouled me. And I was like, Brett! And you were like, get up, John, you fucking idiot. But, anyway, that's that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, like, even moments, like, even from that game, I remember taking a sideline cut, I suppose, on the roadside of Castle Roach pitch, and hitting it into the square, and then nothing coming of it. And then another ball going in, and then something coming of it. You know, everything is something. It's just something,
No, brilliant. No, the Glanmire Kildare rivalry.
That's something Irish.
It's
talked about.
It is 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'll just round it off with this. Will Cork do it tomorrow?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think so? Good.
6 points, 7 points.
6. Yeah, it'll be tough. Like
No, yeah,
Tipper good.
Yeah, I won't say it'll be a goal session like Dublin.
No.
I'd say it'll be 2 goals max or 3 goals max, and 6, 7 points, and I don't think it'll go to extra time. Yeah,
great
that's
stuff.
my prediction.
Brendan Collins, it's been such a pleasure.
Not a bother.
This fella's, he's actually, they beat Ireland a few nights ago, and he unfortunately broke his.
No, I just damaged my shoulder.
Damaged his shoulder, sorry. No break, my mistake.
Yeah.
Misinformation. But I don't know if that fella who is watching, but anyway. No, look, it's been an absolute pleasure, Brendan. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have you on in the future.
Yeah, not a bother.
Good man yourself. Thanks everyone for watching, lads, and slán fóill.
Slán.